Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you join me in part 2 of my vlogs, the quest for better temperatures. And the reason why we have a new edition of the vlogs is because a whole bunch of things came in the mail the other day. And you will be able to see the assembly video for this particular vlog that we're talking about of the Kraken G12 together with the Corsair H80i V2 and the Zotac GTX 1080 Ti Mini. Alright, so here's some thoughts that I think that you guys need to know before you attempt this kind of project if you decide to do so. First of all, the Kraken G12 will indeed fit onto the H80i V2, right? Some other YouTubers and other Redditors have done this before and confirmed that and I can of course confirm that it works. However, I will say that the tolerances involved are very, very tight. You will require a lot of energy, a lot of force in order to fit the G12 onto the pump head of the Corsair H80i V2. A lot of force is involved, and it took me about 45 minutes in order to make it happen. Okay, there's a lot of swearing involved, there was a lot of sweating involved, and a little bit of screaming as well, until eventually the bracket slotted into place. It took a lot of effort. So please be careful when you guys do this. Be careful not to break anything, but also, you still have to use a lot of force in order to make it work. Okay, super tight, right? This also, of course, I can also confirm that Gen 6 Asetek pumps will not work on this simply because they use a completely different mounting bracket. Now, Gen 6 Asetek pumps are the RGB ones from Corsair, for example, the H115i Pro, the H150i Pro, and their just released H60 Pro. Okay, so these will not fit onto the Kraken G12. So if you want to do this kind of project, please use Gen 5 Asetek pumps when you do so, the circular ones, okay? Now onto the card itself. This thing, the GTX 1080 Ti Mini, it's a very compromised card. It's got a much smaller heatsink and fan and thermal cooling solution compared to your standard GTX 1080 Ti cards. And if I'll say this much, if you can get your hands on a normal size 1080 Ti, do so. Don't go for the Mini, simply because of the fact that it cannot deal with temperatures very, very well. A quarter of the way through the Final Fantasy 15 benchmark, we were already hitting temperatures of 86 degrees Celsius, right? We were already hitting thermal throttling. And that's not great, We ran it in 4K with all of the details on the frame rate, was about 40 frames per second, maybe even less. Playable, right? But with the card spitting out so much heat into the case, right? Because of the thermal solution that they use, you're gonna heat up all of your other components as well, and that's not great for your computer overall. So if you can get a normal one, get a normal one. Don't get the Ti Mini. I'm telling you this. And there's another reason as well. If you're gonna attempt this particular combination of the H80i V2 or really any other Asetek pump with the Kraken G12 onto the 1080 Ti Mini, and that is the fact that the fan header that is on the Ti Mini uses a mini 4-pin fan header to connect to its fans. It does not use a standard size fan header. So one of the fans that you have on your cooling solution that's supposed to be part of the Kraken G12, you cannot plug it in to the GPU fan header, right? This is supposed to be the fan, this thing right here, okay, that cools all of the other components, okay? And it's not going to be able to do that. So you're either going to have to use a motherboard header, or you're going to have to connect it to, say, the cooling, the liquid cooler pump headers that come with the H80i V2, okay? So that's something that you need to keep in mind. So you cannot directly monitor and adjust the fan curves of your graphics card via the graphics card software, either MSI Afterburner or even Zotac's own software. Okay, so that's something that you really need to keep in mind. Now, a word about the radiator, the H80i V2. It's a thicker radiator than other 120 or 140 millimeter coolers. It's at 49 millimeters, and it's I think it's 49 millimeters. Is it? Yeah. Hey, let me check. Well, it's thicker by quite a bit more. Let me just quickly check here. The radiator is indeed 49 millimeters. Okay, so it is thicker than most other 120 radiators, which are either 27 or 30 millimeters, right? So that means better thermal performance and better cooling potential, simply because there's more surface area for heat to dissipate. Okay, now you get two fans with the H80i V2. If you're going to mount it in a case as an exhaust, you're going to have a lot of issues with clearance simply because of the amount of space that it takes up, right? Two fans and a thick radiator will probably not fit in, if you can't see here, on this particular case. Okay, especially when you have probably a tall CPU, a slightly taller than usual CPU cooler, such as say the X62, which is going to be put into this particular case. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. So probably just either use only one fan, or you're going to have to mount another fan on the outside and then route the cable inside somehow. Okay, you will probably have to use Corsair Link because there's no other way to control the fan curve on this particular setup, right? So that means you're going to use Corsair Link to control the fan speeds of your GPU if you were to go with this setup. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's what we've got. We've got everything here. We're gonna put everything into the case. We're gonna do our benchmarks. We're gonna do our heat testing and everything. Hopefully those temperatures will come back under control, and I hope you guys will catch the next one after this. So peace out.